The crystal towers of Nexus Prime stretched into the purple sky like giant fingers. Emperor Vextar sat on his golden throne, looking down at the holographic map that showed his vast empire. 17 star systems belonged to him. Billions of creatures across hundreds of worlds called him their master. For 3,000 years, the Vorthak Empire had grown stronger. Their massive warships had crushed every enemy. Their energy weapons could destroy entire cities in seconds. No species had ever defeated them in battle. The Emperor smiled as he remembered how easy it had been to conquer the last world. The bird-like creatures there had surrendered after seeing just one of his dreadnoughts. A door made of pure light opened in the throne room. Grand Admiral Zekmoth walked in, his tall gray body covered in medals and honors. Behind him came 3 scout commanders, their eyes glowing with excitement. "My Emperor," Zekmoth said, bowing low. "The scouts have returned from the Outer Rim. They bring news of a new world." Emperor Vextar leaned forward. New worlds meant new resources, new slaves, and more glory for his empire. "Tell me about this world." The first scout stepped forward. "It is called Earth, Your Majesty. A small blue planet in a system they call the Milky Way. The dominant species calls themselves humans." "Humans," the Emperor repeated, tasting the word. "Are they strong warriors like the Krellans?" "No, my lord," the scout replied. "They are weak creatures. Soft skin, small bodies, and they live for less than 100 rotations. Their technology is very primitive. They still use chemical rockets to travel between their own planet and its moon." The second scout added, "They fight among themselves constantly. Their planet is divided into many small nations. They cannot even agree on simple things like trade or borders." Emperor Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Primitive and divided. How delightfully easy this will be." "There is more, Your Majesty," said the third scout. "The planet contains large amounts of lithium. Their oceans and mountains are rich with it." The Emperor's eyes blazed with interest. Lithium powered the most advanced Vorthak weapons and ships. His engineers always needed more of it. A planet full of lithium would make his empire even stronger. "How many humans live on this Earth?" he asked. "Approximately 8 billion, my lord," the first scout answered. "But they are scattered across the planet in cities. Most of them have never even left their world." Grand Admiral Zekmoth stepped forward. "My Emperor, this seems like a perfect target for the royal fleet. We could conquer this world in a matter of days. The humans would not even know what hit them." Emperor Vextar stood up from his throne. The royal fleet was his pride and joy. 500 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a mountain. The flagship Dominion of Stars was the size of a small moon. "You speak wisely, Zekmoth," the Emperor said, "but I wonder if the royal fleet might be too much for such weak creatures. Perhaps a smaller force would be enough?" Zekmoth shook his head. "My Emperor, sending the royal fleet will send a message to the entire galaxy. Every species will see that the Vorthak Empire can mobilize its greatest weapons against even the smallest threat. It will prevent future rebellions." The Emperor nodded slowly. Fear was a powerful weapon. When other species saw what happened to the humans, they would think twice before defying him. "Very well," Emperor Vextar declared. "I hereby order the conquest of Earth. You will take the royal fleet and claim this world for the Empire. How long do you estimate this campaign will take?" "1 solar rotation at most, my Emperor," Zekmoth replied confidently. "Probably much less. These humans have no space military to speak of. They have a few small stations orbiting their planet, but nothing that could threaten even our smallest escort ships." The Emperor walked to the great window that looked out over his capital city. Millions of Vorthak citizens moved through the streets below, all serving his will. Soon billions more would join them. "Tell me about their weapons," he said. The second scout consulted his datapad. "Primitive kinetic weapons, mostly. They still use explosives and metal projectiles. They have some nuclear weapons, but the energy output is laughably small compared to our plasma cannons. Their largest weapons could not even damage our ship shields." "What about their space capabilities?" the Emperor asked. "Very limited, my lord," the third scout replied. "They have sent a few small probes to nearby planets. They have one space station where a few dozen humans live. Their fastest ships take months to travel between their planet and the next world in their system." Emperor Vextar turned back to face his officers. "It sounds almost too easy. Are you certain there are no hidden threats? No advanced weapons or secret allies?" Grand Admiral Zekmoth straightened his shoulders. "My Emperor, I have conquered 47 worlds for your glory. Never have I seen a species so unprepared for real warfare. The humans are like children playing with toys. They will surrender the moment they see our ships. And if they do not surrender? The Emperor asked. Zekmoth's expression grew cold. Then they will learn why the Vorthak Empire has never known defeat. The Emperor smiled again. He enjoyed Zekmoth's confidence, but he had not become ruler of 17 systems by taking chances. What is the strategic value of their system besides the lithium? The first scout activated a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. The system sits at a natural hyperspace junction, my lord. Controlling it would give us faster access to 3 unexplored sectors. There could be dozens more worlds beyond. Perfect, the Emperor said. The humans will be our gateway to even greater conquests. He walked back to his throne and sat down. Grand Admiral Zekmoth, you will depart immediately. Take the entire royal fleet and establish orbital control around Earth. Give the humans one chance to surrender. If they refuse, demonstrate the price of defying the Vorthak Empire. It will be my honor, my Emperor, Zekmoth said, bowing again. One more thing, Emperor Vextar added. I want some of these humans captured alive. I am curious to study creatures foolish enough to resist us. As you command, my lord. As his officers left the throne room, Emperor Vextar looked back at the star map. Soon there would be 18 systems under his control. The conquest of Earth would be remembered as the easiest victory in Vorthak history. He had no way of knowing that halfway across the galaxy, Admiral Hyun was looking at her own star map, preparing for a war that would change everything. The alarm bells rang across Defense Command Station Sejong as it orbited high above Earth. Admiral Hyun stood in the center of the control room, watching dozens of screens that showed space around their planet. She had been waiting for this day for 15 years. Admiral, called Communications Officer Bin from his station, we have multiple hyperspace signatures detected at the edge of the solar system. The computer counts 500 ships, all large class. Admiral Hyun nodded calmly. Signal all defense platforms. Execute Protocol 7 immediately. Across the solar system, thousands of objects that looked like space junk and asteroids suddenly came to life. Hidden engines ignited, weapon systems powered up. What appeared to be a normal solar system full of rocks and debris was actually a carefully prepared trap. On the bridge of the massive ship Dominion of Stars, Grand Admiral Zekmoth looked at the small blue planet below. It looked so peaceful, so defenseless. A few tiny space stations orbited the world like insects around a light. Communications, Zekmoth ordered. Open a channel to the planet. All frequencies. The screen in front of him flickered to life, showing the interior of what looked like a primitive command center. A human female in a blue uniform stared back at him. She looked much smaller than he had expected. I am Grand Admiral Zekmoth of the Royal Vorthak Fleet, he announced. You will identify yourself. The human spoke in a calm voice. I am Admiral Hyun of the Earth Defense Forces. You are not welcome in our system, Zekmoth laughed. Earth Defense Forces? You mean those few small ships and stations? I have 500 warships under my command. Each one could destroy your entire fleet. Admiral Hyun did not look afraid. We know who you are and why you are here. The answer is no. You do not understand the situation, Zekmoth said, his voice growing harder. I speak for Emperor Vextar, ruler of 17 star systems. Your world now belongs to the Vorthak Empire. You have 6 of your hours to surrender unconditionally. And if we refuse, Admiral Hyun asked, then your cities will burn. Your people will become slaves. Your world will be stripped of all resources. Zekmoth leaned forward. I have conquered 47 worlds. Every species that has resisted us has learned the price of defiance. Admiral Hyun was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Grand Admiral, you have made one critical mistake. What mistake? Zekmoth demanded. You assumed we would be easy prey. The screen went dark. Zekmoth stared at the blank screen. No species had ever spoken to him that way. Usually they begged for mercy or tried to negotiate. This Admiral Hyun showed no fear at all. Scan the planet, he ordered his officers. I want to know everything about their defenses. His sensor officer worked at his controls for several minutes. Sir, I detect approximately 200 small spacecraft in orbit. Most appear to be civilian cargo ships and passenger vessels. Their largest military ship is only 300 meters long. What about ground defenses? Some missile sites, but nothing that could threaten us at this altitude. Energy signatures suggest nuclear weapons, but primitive ones. Zekmoth relaxed slightly. The human admiral was brave, but bravery meant nothing against superior firepower. Very well. We will wait there 6 hours, then begin the demonstration. Inside the Earth Command Center, Admiral Hyun turned to her staff. Signal President Jin. Tell him the enemy has arrived and made their demands. Execute all contingency plans. Admiral, said Captain Day from his position near the tactical display. The Taeguk is ready for deployment. Shall I move into position? Not yet, Admiral Hyun replied. Let them think they see everything. Captain Nara, status on the asteroid field platforms? Captain Nara checked her screens. All platforms are active and hidden. They still read as normal asteroids on most scans. Mira's engineering teams have done incredible work. Chief Engineer Mira looked up from her console. The power signatures are masked, but I cannot hide them completely. If they do deep scans, they might detect us. They will not do deep scans, Admiral Hyun said confidently. They think we are primitives. Arrogance is our greatest weapon right now. The truth was that Earth had been preparing for this moment since they first detected alien signals 20 years ago. Every nation on Earth had secretly worked together to build the defenses they would need. Hidden factories throughout the solar system had built thousands of weapon platforms. Mining stations had been converted into military bases. Even civilian ships carried hidden weapons. Admiral, Communications Officer Bin reported, I have President Jin on the secure channel. President Jin's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but determined. Admiral Hyun, I have spoken with the leaders of every nation. We are united in our response. Earth will not surrender. Understood, Mr. President. Are the evacuation centers ready? All major cities have activated their underground shelters. We cannot save everyone if they attack civilian targets, but we will save as many as possible. Admiral Hyun nodded. Sir, I need you to make one final broadcast to the planet. Tell them that we knew this day would come. Tell them that we are ready. 6 hours later, Grand Admiral Zekmoth looked at his chronometer. The humans had been given their chance. Now they would learn why the Vorthak Empire had never been defeated. Target the largest human space station, he commanded. Fire a single plasma cannon. Let them see what real power looks like. The weapon charged up with a whine that could be heard throughout the ship. A beam of pure energy lanced out across space, striking Station Alpha 7. The human outpost exploded in a ball of fire and debris. Now, Zekmoth said, open a channel to their admiral. Admiral Hyun's face appeared on screen again. She looked sad but not surprised. You have seen what one shot from one ship can do, Zekmoth said. That station held 300 humans. They died because you chose pride over wisdom. Surrender now and prevent more deaths. I am sorry for the loss of those people, Admiral Hyun replied. But their sacrifice will not be forgotten. Then you choose to fight? Your few hundred ships against my 500 dreadnoughts? Admiral Hyun smiled for the first time. Grand Admiral, you still do not understand. We do not have a few hundred ships. Before Zekmoth could ask what she meant, alarms began blaring on his bridge. Sir, his sensor officer shouted. I am detecting massive power signatures throughout the system. Objects that were reading as asteroids are now showing as active vessels. On the tactical display, thousands of red dots appeared. The asteroid belt came alive with hidden weapon platforms. Jupiter's moons revealed concealed military bases. What had looked like empty space was suddenly full of human ships. Impossible, Zekmoth whispered. Admiral Hyun's voice came through the speakers. You wanted to know about our defenses, Grand Admiral. Now you will see them all. Zekmoth realized he had made a terrible mistake. The humans had not been unprepared. They had been waiting. The first shots of the war came from everywhere at once. Hidden weapon platforms throughout the asteroid belt opened fire simultaneously. Streams of metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, crossed the space between worlds in minutes. Grand Admiral Zekmoth watched in shock as his tactical display exploded with warnings. Shields up. All ships, defensive formation. But the Vorthak ships were spread out across the solar system, positioned for an easy conquest. They had not expected to fight a real battle. The nearest ship to the Dominion of Stars was still thousands of kilometers away. Sir, reported his weapons officer. The projectiles are moving at 12% of light speed. Our shields are designed for energy weapons, not kinetic impact at those velocities. The first salvo struck 3 Vorthak cruisers near Mars orbit. The ship's energy shields flickered uselessly as solid metal rods punched through their hulls like paper. 2 ships exploded immediately. The third began spinning out of control, atmosphere streaming from dozens of holes. "Return fire," Zekmoth commanded. "Target those weapon platforms." Red beams of plasma energy lanced out from his ships, striking the hidden platforms. Several exploded in brilliant flashes, but for each one destroyed, 3 more revealed themselves. On Earth Command Station Sejong, Admiral Hyun watched the battle unfold across multiple screens. "Mira, report on the railgun platforms." Chief Engineer Mira studied her readouts. "First wave achieved 80% hit rate. Their shields cannot stop our projectiles at these speeds, but they are adapting quickly. Their return fire is destroying our fixed positions." "Expected," Admiral Hyun replied. "Captain Day, deploy the Taeguk. Show them what our mobile units can do." Far behind the moon, the experimental ship Taeguk powered up its revolutionary quantum drive. Captain Day stood on the bridge watching his crew prepare for battle. "All stations report ready," announced his second-in-command, Lieutenant Su. "Quantum drive to maximum power," Day ordered. "Let us give these aliens a surprise they will never forget." The Taeguk vanished from behind the moon and reappeared directly behind a group of Vorthak destroyers. Before the enemy ships could react, the human vessel fired a spread of quantum torpedoes. The weapons existed in multiple dimensions at once, making them impossible to intercept. 3 alien destroyers simply ceased to exist, their atoms scattered across space. "What was that?" Zekmoth screamed at his sensor operator. "Where did that ship come from?" "Unknown, sir." "It appeared on our sensors for 5 seconds, fired its weapons, and vanished again." The Taeguk reappeared near a different group of Vorthak ships. This time, Captain Day targeted a heavy cruiser. His quantum torpedoes struck the ship's engine section. The cruiser split in half, both pieces drifting dead in space. "All ships concentrate fire on that vessel," Zekmoth ordered. Dozens of plasma beams converged on the Taeguk's position, but the ship was already gone. It materialized on the other side of the Vorthak formation, continuing its deadly work. Meanwhile, other human forces were revealing themselves throughout the solar system. Captain Nara led a squadron of fighters that had been hidden inside what looked like cargo containers. Her ships were small and fast, using the gravity of planets to accelerate to incredible speeds. "Wolfpack leader to all fighters," Nara transmitted. "Use attack pattern Delta 7. Hit and run, maximum confusion." Her fighters swarmed around the larger Vorthak ships like angry insects. They were too small for the alien weapons to target effectively, but their missiles could find weak spots in the enemy hulls. Communications Officer Bin coordinated the attacks from his position on Sejong Station. "Admiral, Jupiter Base reports successful ambush of enemy supply ships. Saturn Command has destroyed 2 dreadnoughts using gravity mines." "Gravity mines?" Admiral Hyun asked. "Mira's idea," Bin explained. "We hid explosive devices in the rings of Saturn. When enemy ships pass nearby, we detonate them. The sudden gravity changes tear the ships apart." Admiral Hyun smiled. Human creativity was proving more valuable than advanced technology. "What about casualties?" "We have lost 43 platforms and 17 ships," Bin reported. "Enemy losses are much higher. They have lost at least 60 ships, including several of their largest vessels." On the Dominion of Stars, Grand Admiral Zekimoth was learning a hard lesson about human tactics. Every time his ships moved to attack one target, humans appeared from a different direction. They did not fight in organized formations like civilized species. They attacked like predators, striking weak points and disappearing before his ships could respond. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we have a new problem. Small human ships are using our own vessels as shields. They hide behind our hulls and fire at other ships in our formation." "That is impossible," Zekmoth replied. "No species would risk hitting their own vessels." But as he watched his screens, he saw exactly that happening. Human fighters would dart between his ships, firing missiles that would hit Vorthak vessels on the other side. If his ships fired back, they risked hitting their own allies. "These humans fight without honor," his weapons officer complained. "They fight to win," Zekmoth realized grimly. "All ships pull back to maximum range. We need to regroup and reassess." But the humans did not let them withdraw easily. Hidden bases on the moons of Jupiter launched swarms of automated missiles. These weapons used artificial intelligence to hunt down retreating Vorthak ships, learning from each engagement. Lieutenant Wan, piloting a damaged fighter, found himself facing 3 enemy interceptors. His weapons were destroyed and his engine was failing. Instead of trying to escape, he pointed his ship directly at the nearest Vorthak cruiser. For Earth, he transmitted on all frequencies as his fighter struck the enemy ship's bridge. The explosion took out the cruiser's command center and damaged 2 nearby vessels. Throughout the solar system, similar acts of courage were taking place. Humans and mining ships rammed enemy vessels. Cargo haulers revealed hidden weapons and joined the fight. Even civilian scientists helped by jamming enemy communications. "Admiral," Mira reported, "I am detecting something interesting. The alien ships all use the same communication frequency. If we can disrupt it, we can prevent them from coordinating their attacks." "Do it," Admiral Hyun ordered. Mira activated a network of signal jammers hidden on asteroids throughout the system. Suddenly, Vorthak ships found themselves unable to communicate with each other. Their coordinated attacks became chaos as individual ships tried to fight, alone. Grand Admiral Zekmoth felt his confidence crumbling as he watched, his proud royal fleet being torn apart by creatures he had thought were primitives. His tactical display showed red warning lights everywhere. Ships were requesting assistance, reporting critical damage, or simply going silent. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the human admiral." Admiral Hyun's face appeared on the main screen. Behind her, Zekmoth could see busy human officers coordinating their continuing attacks. "Grand Admiral," she said, "I am offering you one chance to withdraw from our system. Leave now and we will allow your surviving ships to depart." Zekmoth's pride flared. "You dare offer terms to me? I command the royal fleet of the Vorthak Empire." "You commanded 500 ships," Admiral Hyun replied calmly. "Now you command less than 400. In 1 hour of battle, humans have destroyed more Vorthak vessels than any species in your history." She was right, and Zekmoth knew it. But retreat was impossible. The Emperor would execute him for cowardice. "We will fight to the last ship," he declared. Admiral Hyun looked sad. "Then you have chosen to lose even more of your people. I am sorry for that." The screen went dark and the human attacks resumed with even greater intensity. The battle entered its second phase as human forces across the solar system revealed their true strength. What had started as a surprise attack became something the Vorthak had never experienced. Total warfare, where every human vessel, from the largest warship to the smallest cargo hauler, became part of a coordinated fighting force. Captain Day brought the Teguk alongside Admiral Hyun's command station. Through the quantum communication link, he could coordinate directly with Earth's Defense Command without the aliens intercepting their signals. "Admiral," Day reported, "the quantum drive is performing beyond expectations. We can strike anywhere in the system within seconds. But the enemy is adapting. They are keeping their ships closer together now." Admiral Hyun studied the tactical display. The Vorthak fleet had pulled back and formed a defensive sphere around their flagship. It was a smart move, but it also meant they were no longer attacking Earth. "Captain Nara, status on fighter operations?" Hyun asked. From her cockpit, Captain Nara replied, "We have lost 30% of our fighters, but enemy interceptors are down to almost nothing. Their big ships cannot target us effectively when we stay close to their hulls." Chief Engineer Mira looked up from her console. "Admiral, I have an idea. The enemy ships are staying close together for protection, but that also makes them vulnerable to area effect weapons. What do you have in mind?" Mira activated a holographic display showing the asteroid belt. "We still have mining charges placed throughout the belt. If we detonate them in sequence, we can create a debris field moving at high velocity toward their formation." "Asteroid bombardment?" Admiral Hyun considered the idea. "How much damage could that do? Their shields can stop energy weapons and some projectiles, but millions of rock fragments moving at different speeds and angles? Even their shields have limits." Meanwhile, across the solar system, other human forces were proving that creativity could overcome superior technology. Communications Officer Bin had taken control of a civilian news satellite and turned it into a weapon. By focusing its communication dish, he could overload the sensors of nearby enemy ships. "Bin, you are brilliant," Admiral Hyun said as another Vorthak cruiser drifted helplessly, its crew blinded by electronic interference. "What gave you that idea?" "My daughter's science project," Bin replied. "She used a magnifying glass to burn holes in paper with sunlight. I thought the same principle might work with radio waves." Lieutenant Su, commanding a group of converted cargo ships, had discovered another weakness in Vorthak technology. Their ships were designed to fight other advanced civilizations with predictable weapons. They had trouble targeting multiple small objects that moved in random patterns. All cargo ships execute random evasion, Su ordered. Make yourselves impossible to predict. The former transport vessels began flying in wild, seemingly chaotic patterns. Some spun end over end while firing their improvised weapons. Others accelerated and decelerated at random intervals. The Vorthak targeting computers could not calculate firing solutions for such erratic movement. On the Dominion of Stars, Grand Admiral Zekmoth was learning that fighting humans was unlike any previous campaign. His officers reported problem after problem. "Sir," his sensor operator called, "we are detecting massive detonations in the asteroid belt. Debris is heading toward our position at high velocity." "How much debris?" Zekmoth asked. "Approximately 12 million individual objects, sir, ranging in size from pebbles to house-sized rocks." Zekmoth stared at his tactical display. The cloud of asteroids would reach his fleet in 20 minutes. "Can our shield stop them?" His engineering officer worked at his console. "Some of them, sir, but there are too many objects moving at too many different speeds. Some will get through. Then we move the fleet out of the debris path." "Sir," his navigation officer reported, "human ships are positioned to intercept any course change. If we move, they will attack us while we are maneuvering." Zekmoth realized he was trapped. If he stayed in position, the asteroid bombardment would damage his ships. If he moved, the humans would attack while his vessels were vulnerable. "All ships prepare for impact," he finally ordered. "Maximum shields, point defense systems active." The first asteroids reached the Vorthak formation 10 minutes later. Most were destroyed by defensive weapons or bounced harmlessly off energy shields, but there were simply too many. Small rocks slipped past the defenses and struck hull plating. Larger asteroids overwhelmed shield generators through sheer kinetic energy. Captain Day chose that moment to bring the Teguk back into action. As the Vorthak ships struggled to deal with the asteroid bombardment, he appeared in the middle of their formation. "Fire all quantum torpedoes," Day ordered. "Target their command ships." The Teguk's weapons struck 3 Vorthak vessels that were already damaged by asteroid impacts. All 3 ships broke apart, their crews lost to space. "Sir," Lieutenant Su reported from her cargo ship, "enemy formation is breaking up. They are trying to escape the debris field." Admiral Hyun saw her opportunity. "All ships execute attack pattern Omega. This is our chance to end this battle." Attack pattern Omega was humanity's most ambitious tactic. Every human vessel in the solar system would converge on the enemy fleet simultaneously. Fighters from the outer planets, hidden weapon platforms, converted civilian ships, and even mining robots would attack together. The result was chaos on a scale the Vorthak had never experienced. Hundreds of human vessels swarmed around the alien fleet like angry insects. Each ship fought independently, using whatever tactic seemed most effective. There was no central command, no organized formations, just pure aggressive creativity. Pilot 1, flying a mining ship loaded with explosives, aimed for the engine section of a Vorthak dreadnought. His ship was too small for the alien weapons to target effectively, but his cargo could cripple their largest vessel. "This is for everyone who died at Station Alpha 7. One transmitted as his ship struck the dreadnought's power core. The explosion was visible from Earth. The dreadnought's hull cracked along its length, atmosphere and debris streaming into space. Engineer Mira, coordinating from her station, noticed something important. "Admiral, the enemy ships are having power fluctuations. I think their reactors cannot handle the stress of continuous combat." "Explain," Admiral Hyun requested. "Vorthak technology is very advanced, but it is also very complex. Their ships need frequent maintenance and careful calibration. They have been fighting for hours without a break. Their systems are starting to fail." As if to prove her point, a Vorthak cruiser suddenly went dark. Its engines stopped working. Its weapons powered down and it began drifting helplessly. "Target disabled ships," Admiral Hyun ordered. "Do not let them repair and rejoin the battle." Captain Nara led her remaining fighters in attacks on the crippled vessels. Without shields or weapons, they were easy targets for human missiles. Grand Admiral Zekmoth watched his proud royal fleet falling apart around him. Ships were exploding, drifting powerless, or simply disappearing under swarms of human attackers. His communications officer reported that over half the fleet had been destroyed or disabled. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "perhaps we should consider retreat. We could regroup and return with reinforcements." "The Emperor ordered the conquest of this world," Zekmoth replied. "I will not return to face his anger with news of defeat." But even as he spoke, Zekmoth knew the battle was lost. The humans had turned his technological advantage into a weakness. Their unpredictable tactics and willingness to sacrifice themselves made them impossible to defeat with conventional strategy. "All remaining ships," he finally ordered, "form a defensive circle around the Dominion of Stars. We make our final stand here." Admiral Hyun, monitoring the enemy communications, heard the order. "They are not retreating," she told her staff. "Prepare for the final phase of battle." The final battle began as the remaining Vorthak ships formed a desperate circle around their flagship. Less than 100 vessels remained from the original 500, and many of those were heavily damaged. Grand Admiral Zekmoth stood on the bridge of the Dominion of Stars, watching human forces surround his fleet. On Nexus Prime, Emperor Vextar received reports that filled him with disbelief. His personal communication screen showed the battle in real time, transmitted by spy drones hidden throughout Earth's solar system. "This is impossible," he whispered, watching human fighters dance between his dreadnoughts like tiny sparks of light. "They are primitives. How can they be winning?" His military advisor, General Korth, studied the tactical displays with growing concern. "My Emperor, the humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. They do not follow standard military doctrine. Every ship acts independently, making them impossible to predict." The Emperor watched as another of his cruisers exploded under concentrated human fire. "Zekmoth is my best admiral. If he cannot defeat these creatures, what does that say about our military?" On the Dominion of Stars, Grand Admiral Zekmoth was asking himself the same question. His sensor operator reported, "Sir, human ships are taking positions all around us. They have us completely surrounded. How many ships are we facing?" Zekmoth asked. "Over 3,000, sir. But most of them are small vessels. Cargo ships, mining craft, even civilian transports. They all seem to be armed." Zekmoth realized that the humans had turned their entire civilization into a weapon. Every ship, every station, every piece of space-based equipment had become part of their defense. It was a level of unity and determination he had never seen before. Admiral Hyun opened a final communication channel to the Vorthak flagship. "Grand Admiral Zekmoth, you are surrounded and outnumbered 30-1. I offer you one last chance to surrender." Zekmoth appeared on her screen, his gray skin marked with burns from battle damage to his ship. "Admiral Hyun, you have proven that humans are formidable opponents, but I cannot surrender. The Emperor would execute me for cowardice." "Then you choose death over dishonor?" Admiral Hyun asked. "I choose loyalty to my empire," Zekmoth replied. "But I must ask, how did you prepare so well for our arrival? Our intelligence said you were divided and primitive." Admiral Hyun was quiet for a moment. 20 years ago, we detected alien signals from deep space. We knew someone was out there, and we knew they might not be friendly. Every nation on Earth worked together to prepare. We built weapons, trained soldiers, and created plans for this exact situation. You united your entire species against a threat you had never seen. "We united to protect our home and our freedom," Admiral Hyun replied. "Something your empire would not understand." Chief Engineer Mira, monitoring the enemy flagship, noticed something on her sensors. "Admiral, the Dominion of Stars has a critical flaw in its reactor design. If we can overload their primary power coupling, the entire ship will lose power." "How do we target something that specific?" Admiral Hyun asked. Captain Day, listening from the Taguk, had an idea. "Quantum torpedoes can phase through normal matter. If I can get close enough, I can fire directly into their engineering section." "That ship has over 2,000 crew members," Admiral Hyun said. "Are you certain they will not surrender?" Communications Officer Bin monitored Vorthak transmissions. "Admiral, they are preparing for a final attack. All remaining ships are charging their weapons for maximum power." Admiral Hyun made her decision. "Captain Day, execute the mission. All other ships, prepare for final assault." The Taeguk vanished from its position and reappeared directly above the Dominion of Stars. Captain Day fired a single quantum torpedo into the alien ship's engineering section. The weapon passed through the hull without damaging it, then exploded inside the reactor chamber. The massive flagship went dark. Emergency lighting flickered on as power systems failed throughout the vessel. Without shields or weapons, it became helpless. "All ships, this is Admiral Hyun," she broadcast to her fleet. "The enemy flagship is disabled. Destroy the remaining vessels." The final assault lasted only minutes. Human ships attacked from every direction, overwhelming the last Vorthak defenders. Captain Nara led her fighters against the smaller vessels, while Lieutenant Su's cargo ships used ramming attacks against ships too damaged to maneuver. Pilot Wan, his fighter badly damaged from earlier battles, found himself facing the last operational Vorthak cruiser. His weapons were destroyed and his engine was failing, but he could see that the enemy ship was preparing to fire on a group of human rescue vessels. "Not today," Wan said, pointing his fighter directly at the cruiser's weapon ports. His ship struck the alien vessel just as its guns were charging, causing an explosion that destroyed both ships. On the powerless Dominion of Stars, Grand Admiral Zekmoth watched his fleet die around him. Emergency power kept the bridge operational, but he knew the battle was over. "Sir," his communications officer reported, 12 ships are requesting permission to retreat. They want to return to Vorthak space." Zekmoth nodded slowly. "Give them permission. Someone must carry word of what happened here." The surviving Vorthak vessels, all of them heavily damaged, began limping away from Earth. Human ships followed them to the edge of the solar system to make sure they actually left. Admiral Hyun opened one final channel to the Dominion of Stars. "Grand Admiral, your ship is disabled but intact. We are sending rescue teams to evacuate your crew." "You would save us after we came to conquer your world?" Zekmoth asked. "We are not monsters," Admiral Hyun replied. "Your crew will be treated according to the laws of war. Some may choose to remain on Earth. Others will be returned to your empire eventually." "And me?" "That depends on what you choose to do with this experience," Admiral Hyun said. "You have seen what happens when you underestimate your opponents." On Nexus Prime, Emperor Vexitar stared at his star map in shock. The red dots marking his royal fleet had been replaced by gray symbols showing destroyed or disabled vessels. Of 500 ships, only 12 limped back toward Vorthak space. "My Emperor," General Korth said carefully, "we must prepare for the possibility that the humans will attack us." "Attack us?" the Emperor replied. "They are primitives from a single world. My lord, they just destroyed our greatest fleet. Perhaps we should reconsider our assessment of their capabilities." Emperor Vextar was silent for a long time. Then he asked, "What are your recommendations, General?" "We should treat these humans as equals, my Emperor, perhaps even as potential allies. They have proven they can defend themselves and they might be willing to trade rather than fight." 3 months later, Captain Day stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Taeguk, looking out at the construction of new defense platforms around Earth. The quantum drive had been improved with technology, learned from captured Vorthak ships. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Su, "we are receiving a transmission from the Vorthak Empire. It appears to be a diplomatic message." Admiral Hyun appeared on the main screen from her new command post on Luna. "Captain, Emperor Vextar is requesting a peace treaty. He wants to establish trade relations with Earth." "Do we trust them?" Day asked. "We verify everything and prepare for anything," Admiral Hyun replied. "But this is a good first step." Engineer Mira, now promoted to head of advanced weapons research, looked up from her console. "Admiral, our intelligence networks report that 6 other species in the region have requested diplomatic contact with Earth. Word of our victory has spread throughout this part of the galaxy." Admiral Hyun smiled. "It seems humanity has announced itself to the galaxy in a way no one expected." Communications Officer Bin received another message. "Admiral, this one is interesting. It is from a species called the Keltar. They say they have been fighting the Vorthak Empire for centuries. They want to discuss a mutual defense alliance." "The galaxy just became a much more interesting place," Admiral Hyun observed. On the edge of the solar system, automated defense platforms continued their eternal watch. Hidden bases on asteroids and moons remained ready for action. Earth had learned an important lesson from the Vorthak attack. Peace required strength, and freedom required vigilance. The humans had won their first interstellar war, but they knew it would not be their last. However, they also knew something their enemies had learned too late. Underestimating humanity was always a fatal mistake.